Juke-R, very simply, is a combination of a Nissan Juke and a Nissan GT-R. We're a very innovative company and we just like doing really crazy stuff like this. You look at our history, there's many, many examples of Nissan engineers really driving forward the business.
Nissan's brief is to create a supercar crossover that packs the performance of a GT-R into the Juke platform in just 22 weeks. The car is being built here at RML. RML are one of the world's leading motorsport specialists, and we've been working on innovative and very exciting projects with Nissan for 20 years, including winning the British Touring Car Championship in both 1998 and 99. The build project for the Juke-R is based on trying to understand how to package the engine and transmission into the Juke platform. So the big challenge is in ascertaining space for the driver at the front and the transmission in the rear. It's all about getting the standard Juke platform to accept the full GT-R running gear, including the engine, transmission, diffs and gearbox. It all adds up to a major piece of work. In parallel with this, we'll be looking at the dynamics of the package, working out if the shortened wheelbase of the GT-R will work in practice in the Juke. Because we're going to be removing the entire floor pan, we're literally going to be building it from the ground up. So, under pressure from a tight deadline, the first challenge our technical team face is to study the GT-R powertrain and to understand how it will react to the dimensions of the Juke.
There are many engineering challenges on this project. One that really interests me is the fact we've got a very small package in the Juke. It's a city car and we're trying to pack a huge amount of technology in it. One of the things that people probably don't realise about GT-R is the amount of electronics and computing power that the GT-R has got to make it go as fast as it goes.
There are three areas of key technologies that we'll be utilising in the Juke-R. The first is the four-wheel drive system. That has the traction control and stability control, and most importantly the torque vectoring system. Torque vectoring is the way of controlling each wheel individually so that the car is both stable and maximises the performance available. The second is the touchscreen driver interface, which gives you the gauges, the G meter, all the boost dials and everything else that's user configurable, along with the sat-nav and the entertainment system. And finally, there's the boost and engine control. We will be creating a design study with the GT-R where we'll be utilising a GT-R powertrain, shortening by 250mm, and then using a test facility to then run the car, instrumented, and then analyse the data to make sure that the results are positive. The changes in order to fit the GT-R running gear into a Juke will require the entire floor pan to be removed and the whole thing rebuilt from the ground up to pick up all of the GT-R mounting points. Once we've established that it will all work, the real business begins to actually start building the Juke-R.
The main design challenge was how do you package all of the GT-R's unique technology, its performance, its cooling and everything into a body which is designed primarily to take a 1.6 turbo.
The first phase of the build has three objectives: to strip the road Juke, so we have all the donor parts, to obtain a car set of GT-R components to utilise in the Juke-R, and to create the main jig for the key chassis points. The roll cage was designed to a Motorsport Association guideline, but this was done in-car by creating a template of bends, getting those bent, putting those in the car, and then constructing the rest of the roll cage between the points on the jig. We have a lot of experience of building very high performance vehicles, and so really we're just going to ensure that we have an awful lot of roll cage and chassis material in the key areas. The original elements of the GT-R carried over include not just the engine and transmission, but all the suspension, all the brakes, all the steering assembly, and most notably from the chassis as well, the front pickups for the suspension. So that's how the chassis is progressing. However, The Juke-R is going to be the fastest crossover in the world, and that power's got to come from somewhere. We've got a GT-R engine to fit.
The huge V6 engine into the front of the car gives another challenge in terms of the cooling performance, getting air into the vehicle, making sure that we can retain all of the performance and the durability of the engine when it's in its new installation.
The GT-R engine was 480 horsepower, which should make an incredible Juke-R. How are we going to fit the GT-R engine in the Juke? Well, we start off with a jig that sets all the positions, but then it's a case of removing the bulkhead, offering up the engine, and then fabricating around it. The main issues with the GT-R, aside from the size, is in heat management. It gets very hot, it's a very powerful engine, and therefore it rejects a lot of heat. We're studying the standard GT-R and trying to utilise as much of that technology as possible. Well, the cooling we're going to be very careful with. We've studied the front package of the GT-R and we're ensuring that the body kit on the Juke-R will have enough openings to replicate that cooling. And we're also going to transfer the entire package, the cooling cassette if you like, from the GT-R into the Juke-R to maintain that level of performance. Now the power plant is in place, we've got to transfer that power to the wheels. The next task is to fit the gearbox and drivetrain.
Clearly, when we put the Juke body on top of the GT-R chassis, the first problem that we come across is that the wheelbase is different by about 250 millimetres.
And this means that because of torsional activity, we also have to make sure that it's strong enough. The way that we've worked out how much to shorten the GT-R running gear by is by looking at the manufacturer specifications for wheelbase and then physically measuring the cars as well. The GT-R runs a pair of prop shafts, one going back from the engine to the gearbox and another one going forwards to provide the front wheels with power. While we're having to remanufacture the main prop shafts, carbon in the GT-R, it will be larger diameter steel variant in the Juke-R, and for the return prop we've got a shortened variant of the steel donor part. The driver experience changing gear in the Juke-R will be exactly the same as in the GT-R. This was some of the work that we did and proved with the short wheelbase feasibility study. In order to make sure that the spec of the chassis is strong enough, we did some stiffness testing and set ourselves that as the goal for the Juke-R platform. Juke-R is shaping up to be a real driver's car, but the driver has to be in the best possible position to reach all the controls to make the most of it. It's time to look into the art of ergonomics.
The wheelbase was different, the roof line's different, the hip point's different, so we've had all of the challenge of matching that layout.
The driving position is critical for everything really. It's one of the main feedbacks for the driver, so he wants to be comfortable and he also wants everything in exactly the positions he's expecting it to be.
Everything's moved back a lot from where it is in the standard Juke. We're ending up with the buttons about 100mm further towards the driver than in the standard car, and obviously the seat's quite a bit further back as well.
Once we've allocated enough space for the driver, the main considerations are based around pedal positions and steering wheel positions. We're also running an FIA approved seat. The main dash panels that you see are Juke components, but all the switchgear and the instruments that you see are GT-R components. In the centre console, that's all new panels around where the air vents come out. That's to house the touchscreen display from the GT-R. Perhaps the most major element that we're introducing from the GT-R for driver feel is the steering wheel assembly, which encompasses both the wheel itself but also the paddle shift technology. We're utilising the full GT-R electrical system, including the base loom. The main issues will be on items that we can't fit under the dash or that are being relocated and have to be lengthened. The Juke's interior has been completely modified. Now it's time to get to work on the exterior.
The wheelbase was different, the roof line's different, the hip point's different, so we've had all of the challenge of matching that layout.
The driving position is critical for everything really. It's one of the main feedbacks for the driver, so he wants to be comfortable and he also wants everything in exactly the positions he's expecting it to be.
Everything's moved back a lot from where it is in the standard Juke. We're ending up with the buttons about 100mm further towards the driver than in the standard car, and obviously the seat's quite a bit further back as well.
Once we've allocated enough space for the driver, the main considerations are based around pedal positions and steering wheel positions. We're also running an FIA approved seat. The main dash panels that you see are Juke components, but all the switchgear and the instruments that you see are GT-R components. In the centre console, that's all new panels around where the air vents come out. That's to house the touchscreen display from the GT-R. Perhaps the most major element that we're introducing from the GT-R for driver feel is the steering wheel assembly, which encompasses both the wheel itself but also the paddle shift technology. We're utilising the full GT-R electrical system, including the base loom. The main issues will be on items that we can't fit under the dash or that are being relocated and have to be lengthened. The Juke's interior has been completely modified. Now it's time to get to work on the exterior.
We like this car to be seen as a demonstration of our iconic design to create an innovative, exciting, dynamic concept.
So the early challenges are to scan the car and then remodel the side skirts, wheel arches and front and rear bumper. Nissan had developed a set of 2D sketches and these were then modelled in a 3D environment. Then a mould is made on a 5-axis CNC machine. The next stage of the process is to apply a thin layer of carbon fibre into the contours of the mould. And then the mould and the carbon fibre are put inside a vacuum bag, which is then compressed to ensure that there is no air between the two. Finally, it's put into an autoclave, which is basically a pressure cooker, and heated to around 100 degrees Celsius. Once we're happy with the fit of the panels, they are then skin pinned to the chassis of the car and then applied for good with a special glue used in bonding Formula 1 chassis. Juke-R has the looks and the power of a sports car, but that means nothing if it can't go round the corners. So next time, we'll show you how we make it handle like a supercar.
The GT-R is something that you can take down to Tesco's, you can drive it, you can take your kids to school and then go and beat a 911 on a Nordschleifer.
How can we get a Juke to handle like a GT-R? We'll be making sure that the car is as light as possible. The roll cage was designed by using a Motorsport Association template. And we've also taken advantage of some options on damping rates, springs and anti-roll bars. For the brake package, the Juke-R will take advantage of the 2011 larger brake disc package used on the GT-R. The four-wheel drive technology in the GT-R is fully adaptive and therefore this will suit the new platform of the Juke-R. Corner speed wise, we're running the same tyre setup but with different dampers and springs to compensate for the higher weight transfer of the Juke-R. We'll be looking at utilising a stiffer anti-roll bar to compensate for the weight transfer of the higher bodied Juke-R. The Juke-R will have excellent stopping potential, which we expect to be comparable to the GT-R. Work on the Juke-R is nearly complete. Now we've just got to add the finishing touches.
Juke-R's about our innovation and excitement, but it's also to take a look into the future and how might an extreme sports Juke look like.
The brief is to maintain as much of the standard Juke's interior styling, whilst also hinting at the extreme and high-performance nature of the Juke-R potential. Some examples would be the instrument cluster that the driver sees. This is a GT-R component but rehoused with the motorcycle-inspired binnacle cluster that you see in the Juke. Final area of interior styling is the gear shift surround that houses the GT-R semi-automatic gear shift mechanism. The matte black colour scheme is quite a challenge because it's very difficult to rework after the event. So we've decided to fully wrap the car, which covers all of the existing paintwork. This ensures that any stone chips or anything else that it picks up during its life will not be seen. The Juke-R is as close as possible to a production car inside, so wherever possible it features road car trims and is fully fitted with carpets and roof liner and other detail components. A lot of work has been done to make this the fastest crossover vehicle in the world. It's time to hit the track and see what it can do.
Juke-R is a road legal car, so it's very important that with this testing we can make sure that first the car is safe, and that's very important, but also that we could fine-tune and improve all the variations in terms of chassis and in terms of suspension that the Juke-R has against the GT-R.
The shakedown and testing will be done at a variety of secure test facilities. The shakedown itself will be done at a standard vehicle test facility which just enables us to run around a series of short courses. The testing will also include some circuit running. A shakedown is a specific day that we dedicate to merely running the car and making sure that all the basic functions are working properly. The first few specific things we'll be looking at is a full vehicle check for all the hoses and pipe work. So we'll be making sure that everything is working as intended, that there are no evidence of problems or leaks. This will then develop into a bit of a systems check, so we'll run the car a little bit harder, make sure that all the electronics package is operating as we'd expect. A test is about developing the car and making sure we extract the maximum possible performance. So we'll be really putting it through its paces and making sure that the car is stable and that it's safe. And so we'll be doing some performance development both to improve the dynamics of the package and extract as much of the GT-R heritage as we can.
Juke-R's about our innovation and excitement, but it's also to take a look into the future and how might an extreme sports Juke look like.
There are many engineering challenges on this project. One that really interests me is the fact we've got a very small package in the Juke. It's a city car, and we're trying to pack a huge amount of technology in it.